Daily images of death and widespread destruction in Gaza have triggered global outrage. Along with accusations, Israel is committing the gravest of crimes against Palestinians: genocide, a charge long leveled by certain countries and rights groups, which Israel has always fiercely rejected. This war, it says, is about self-defense. But now an increasing number of prominent academics are weighing in.
I would say most scholars of genocide by now and scholars of international law agree that what we are seeing in Gaza now is genocide.
Israeli-American Omer Bartov is one of the world's foremost Holocaust and genocide scholars. Up until November 2023, you were talking about genocidal intent. At what point did it become clear to you that this was genocide?
In May 2024, and that was when the IDF moved into Rafah. The war goal was to make Gaza entirely uninhabitable for its population, so that eventually the people there would have no choice but to leave if they had anywhere to go, which they didn't.
Though many scholars agree with Bartov, others are just as strongly convinced the evidence is not there.
No, Israel's action in Gaza do not amount to genocide.
Professor Danny Orbach, a military historian, spoke to us in between classes from Jerusalem.
Is there an intention by the Israeli cabinet and the Israeli army to exterminate all Gazans? This is wrong in any sense. Had Israel wanted to kill as many people as possible in the safe zones, it would have done so. We would have by now maybe hundreds of thousands of casualties in such a case.
The death toll in Gaza since October 7th now surpassing 55,000, according to Palestinian health officials. The United Nations says the vast majority of the casualties are women and children.
The international community has already failed to prevent the genocide.
On October 7th, 2023, Israeli officials say 1,200 people were killed and 251 taken hostage when Hamas gunmen invaded Israel. As it tries to rescue the remaining hostages and destroy what's left of Hamas, Israel maintains it doesn't target non-combatants, accusing Hamas of using civilians as human shields.
Genocide, they cry about Israel. They distort reality and downplay the clear intent of Hamas to annihilate Israel.
Genocide is often referred to as the crime of crimes and very difficult to prove in court. It was coined in the early 1940s by Jewish jurist Raphael Lemkin, who lost 49 relatives in the Holocaust.
And I became interested in genocide because it happened so many times.
In his definition, genocide does not necessarily mean the immediate destruction of a nation, but that it can also be a coordinated plan of different actions aiming at the destruction of essential foundations of the life of national groups with the aim of annihilating the groups themselves. The UN outlawed genocide in 1948. But under international law, intent to destroy Palestinians as a group in whole or in part must be proven.
The burden of proof is very high, but we've been seeing now not only utterances from senior people in cabinet positions in Israel talking about and using language which is the language of extermination.
British attorney Baroness Helena Kennedy is one of Britain's leading human rights lawyers, and she's cautious about using the word genocide.
I think warrants should be issued against those people who are making those utterances and calling for what I think are genocidal acts.
South Africa in 2023 took Israel to the International Court of Justice, the UN's top court, on accusations of genocide. The key evidence, comments by Israeli officials that South Africa says show intent to commit genocide. Those include: we are fighting human animals and we are acting accordingly. In the Gaza Strip, there are no innocents. And now we all have one common goal: erasing the Gaza Strip from the face of the earth.
עזה
More recently, Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich said Gaza will be completely destroyed.
So what you're saying to viewers is disregard what Smotrich and Ben-Gvir are saying, even though they're in the cabinet, even though they are ministers.
What matters to what's happening in Gaza is the chain of command. Who gives orders to the soldiers? Who gives orders to the army? These are irresponsible politicians who speak to their base. This is not army policy. This is not state policy.
The U.S. and Israel have rejected the ICJ case, Israel calling the accusations wholly unfounded. A genocide verdict could turn Israel into a pariah state, damaging trade and diplomatic links. But Kennedy says it may be easier to focus on prosecuting individual Israeli officials for war crimes. She's helped issue international arrest warrants for the Israeli Prime Minister and the former Defense Minister on allegations of war crimes and crimes against humanity. Even former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert accused Israel of committing war crimes after an 11-week blockade that pushed Gaza to the brink of famine.
I think that it really can become a distraction. You know, is it genocide or is it not genocide? Which side of the argument are you on? Why don't we just deal with the fact that grievous, hellish crimes are being committed in the name of war?
And even if international courts rule against Israel, still a question: will anybody be held accountable? Daniele Hamamdjian, NBC News, London.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.